Hey, what is up, tech enthusiast? Bo HD here, and believe it or not, the iPhone 6 is my first iPhone, the first Apple smartphone I have ever owned. It's not that I've been deliberately avoiding buying an iPhone or anything like that. I've just never really had the money at the time, or I was already invested in the phone I had at the time. So with that said, this is my review based on the fact that this is my first iPhone. So let's take a look at the hardware. Now this is the 16GB gold iPhone 6 with a 4.7-inch display. While I bought it thinking it would be cool to sort of mix it up and buy the gold version, I would have preferred the space gray version after the fact, just because it's more sleek and it matches my other black devices. But the gold version isn't really all that bad. If you're looking for a flashy, stylish device, then this is the color you're going to want. The front is bright white and the back is gold, or whatever color choice you select, either silver or space gray or gold. The antenna lines on the top and bottom aren't my favorite to look at, but it doesn't really take away from the overall design since this thing is very well made. It's an Apple product, and Apple sort of has a reputation for its build quality. The only thing I really don't like about the build quality is the fact that the iPhone 6 is extremely slippery. It has rounded edges which make the device fit better in your hands, but you lose a lot of grip as there's just less space to grip the size of the device. I mean, you guys know me, I never put cases on phones, but I actively dress this guy up with the case when I go out and about, just because it's so accident prone. But if we flip it back on its front and turn on the display, the HD 1334 by 750 resolution display is really fantastic. It's really nice. It's not going to really wow you like a Samsung panel, but the brightness and color accuracy is top notch. It's easy to see outdoors, and the whites are very true to color. Overall, I'm just very impressed despite it having a relatively low resolution compared to some of the other flagship smartphones on the market. Now, I mentioned this is my first iPhone. I've played around and tested some other Apple products in my time, so I'm definitely used to iOS, don't get me wrong. But the iPhone 6 is running the latest version of iOS, that being iOS 8, which comes with all sorts of improvements over the previous version. I mean, there's a ton of updates in this version, which would take me forever to go over them all, but some of the most useful ones have to do with the notifications and keyboards. The notifications have been greatly improved so that when you receive, say, a text or a Facebook message, you can just swipe down from the top and quickly reply just like that. And you can view all sorts of notifications in the notifications tray, and they'll be organized into categories for your mail and social networks. There are also widgets on the Today tab, which is a pretty sweet addition for iOS, but coming from Android, they are nowhere near as useful as widgets on the home screen. I want information to be presented to me with little swiping or tapping involved, so as for my thoughts on the widgets in iOS, Apple is in the right direction, but ultimately, I'd like to see them on the home screen. But the other really nice addition to iOS 8 is support for third-party keyboards. Immediately when I set up my iPhone 6, I went to install SwiftKey, and it's pretty awesome. I really love how I can now swipe to type text. I'm really glad Apple has finally added this. I do want to note that I have run into a lot of bugs though with the keyboard specifically. Sometimes the keyboards just won't appear at all, other times the swipe gesture functionality just doesn't work. It's gotten better as Apple has released some bug fixes to iOS in recent updates, but that's kind of been the whole story of iOS 8 so far. There's really a lot of bugs, mostly minor ones, but you will notice them here and there in the most random places. I've heard people report that the camera app has been crashing. Luckily, I haven't had that major of an issue, but I can confirm that iOS 8 isn't quite as polished as I thought it would be by now. But with that said, the speed of the OS is very impressive. It's very fluid, quick, and responsive. I've had very little, next to none, stuttering or hiccups at all, which is awesome, especially considering the fact that the iPhone 6 is only equipped with 1GB of RAM and a dual-core processor. But if we jump into the camera app and take a look around, we have some added modes such as a time-lapse mode and a super slow-mo mode that records at 240 frames per second, both of which are awesome. If we take a look at the camera quality though, this is one of the areas where the iPhone 6 really shines. As you know, iPhones have always had great cameras, and the iPhone 6 is no exception. It packs a modest 8 megapixel camera sensor, but I'm really impressed with just how versatile this camera is. Whether it's outdoors or indoors with low light, overall the picture quality is great. It's not going to capture the absolute best outdoor shot or absolute best low light shot, but it's probably the best all-around smartphone camera I've tested. I would have liked to have seen Apple include a larger megapixel sensor to retain better quality when cropping a picture, But I can't really complain too much since the quality is pretty darn good. But the last area worth mentioning is the battery life, and somehow, I don't know how, but I'm able to get a full day of heavy use with this phone, despite it being so dang thin. I don't know how they could have even put a mediocre sized battery in the iPhone 6, but it's obviously there, and it performs pretty well. I still have to charge it every night, but I usually end my day with around 20 to 30% left, which is pretty good considering how much I use my phone each day. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the iPhone 6. It'll certainly be a great phone to upgrade to, and it'll definitely be worth your money. Now with that said, there are a few personal problems I don't like about the iPhone 6. First is that you can't use any Android Wear device, which is a big disappointment. I mean, it makes sense since Apple does have a very closed way of doing things, but it would be nice to be able to receive notifications from my iPhone on my Moto 360. The other thing I don't really like about it is that for a techie person like myself, it just gets kind of boring. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of customization available. I can't add widgets to the home screen, I can't change the fonts or the icons or the theme of the device or anything like that. So from that point of view, it can definitely get boring fast. But with that said, the iPhone 6 works well. It's designed to be simple and just works when you want and need it to. And it does just that. So if you just want a phone that works well and you don't really care about all the tweaks and customizations and personalizations, you just want to get directions when you need to or search the web when you need to, then the iPhone 6 is the phone for you. And so with that said, that is going to about do it for my review of the iPhone 6. Let me know what you think of the iPhone 6 by leaving me a comment down below. I'd love to know what you think of the device. But as always, I'm BoHD from How To and More. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.